There comes a point when you get tired of fighting for someone who only gives you fragments of what you deserve. You stop confusing pain with passion and chaos with love, and in that quiet moment, you realize you're not letting him go because you stopped caring. You're letting him go because you finally started caring about yourself, because peace, not pain, is what love is supposed to feel like. Love isn't supposed to feel like survival, but sometimes when you care deeply for someone, you begin to accept the ache as part of the experience. You start to believe that if it hurts, it must mean it's real, that passion and pain somehow belong together. So you stay, you keep hoping that the next version of him, the next apology, or the next "I miss you," will be the one that finally makes it all make sense. But it never does, and deep down you already know that. The love that drains you, confuses you, and keeps you questioning your worth isn't love. It's attachment disguised as hope. It's you holding on to what you wish it could be, instead of seeing it for what it actually is. You tell yourself stories to survive it. He's just scared of commitment. He's been hurt before. He just needs time. But every time you explain his behavior, you abandon yourself a little more. You stop listening to that quiet voice inside that keeps whispering, "This isn't love, this is exhaustion." Because love, real, secure love, doesn't feel like you're constantly losing your balance. It doesn't make you second, guess your worth or chase after reassurance that should come naturally. Real love doesn't live in the extremes of heartbreak one moment and relief the next. It lives in the steady rhythm of peace, trust, and mutual respect. When you care deeply, it's natural to want to fight for the connection, but at some point you have to ask yourself, are you fighting for love or are you fighting against reality? Because there's a difference between effort and suffering. Effort builds connection, suffering keeps you stuck. The longer you stay in something that consistently hurts, the more you begin to internalize the pain as normal. And before you know it, the chaos becomes familiar. You start to equate intensity with importance, heartbreak with depth. But the truth is, when someone truly values you, love won't feel like a guessing game. It won't be a roller coaster that leaves you drained after every high. It will feel calm, consistent, and kind. When love becomes something that costs you your peace, it's not love anymore, it's self-sacrifice. And the more you sacrifice your inner calm for someone else's inconsistency, the further you drift from yourself. Peace doesn't ask you to shrink, to wait, or to beg. Peace feels like home, not a battlefield. And the reason it's so hard to walk away from pain is because you've convinced yourself that leaving means losing something meaningful. But what you're really losing is the cycle that's been keeping you stuck. The moment you stop chasing what hurts you, you begin to heal what's been breaking you. Letting go of someone who once meant everything isn't about becoming cold or detached. It's about choosing yourself over your suffering. It's about saying, I can love you, but not at the cost of my peace. You're not rejecting love by walking away. You're rejecting the version of it that keeps wounding you. The love you want isn't the one that leaves you anxious or unseen. It's the one that allows you to breathe. And the only way to find that love is to stop holding on to the kind that hurts. So no, love shouldn't feel like you're constantly hurting. It should feel like safety, not survival. It should bring out your calm, not your chaos. You deserve a love that doesn't make you question your worth every time you give your heart. You deserve to be loved in a way that brings you peace, not pain disguised as passion, because love, at its core, isn't about intensity. It's about peace that feels like home. Letting go has a way of making you feel like you're losing something important, like you've failed at keeping something that was supposed to matter. It feels unnatural because your heart was trained to hold on, to fix, to try, to prove your love was enough. You tell yourself that if you just wait a little longer, give a little more, or forgive one more time, things will change. But what if the strength isn't in holding on? What if it's in knowing when to stop? What if the bravest thing you can do is to say, this isn't working anymore, and I deserve peace? People often confuse letting go with weakness, as if walking away means you didn't care deeply enough. But that's not true. Letting go doesn't mean you've stopped loving. It means you've stopped allowing love to destroy your peace. It's emotional maturity, the understanding that you can love someone deeply and still choose yourself. It's knowing that love without respect, consistency, or peace isn't love worth keeping. That realization doesn't make you cold, it makes you wise. When you're emotionally invested, it's easy to hold on out of fear. Fear of being alone, fear of regret, fear of what life looks like without them. But you have to ask yourself, are you staying because of love or because of fear? Because love brings expansion, not restriction. It should make you feel grounded, not trapped. And the truth is, it takes more courage to end something that's hurting you than it does to keep pretending everything's fine. Letting go is not running away. It's refusing to let your heart live in a place that keeps breaking it. When you reach that point of awareness, something inside you shifts. You stop chasing closure that will never come, and you stop rewriting the same story, hoping for a different ending. You start to see that peace doesn't come from getting the answers. It comes from accepting that you might never get them. That's emotional maturity. It's understanding that sometimes the healthiest thing you can do for both of you is to walk away quietly, without anger, without blame, just acceptance. The beauty of letting go is that it doesn't erase love. It transforms it. It changes from, I need you to be okay, to I wish you well, even if it's without me. That's power. That's growth. That's you stepping out of the storm instead of waiting for it to pass. Because staying in something that keeps hurting you isn't loyalty, it's self-neglect. And when you finally see that, you begin to understand that the love you give to others deserves to come back to you in equal measure. If it doesn't, that's your sign to walk away, not because you've stopped caring, but because you've started caring about yourself. There's no shame in letting go of something that no longer fits your soul. The hardest part isn't losing them, it's accepting that your story with them has served its purpose. They came to teach you something, maybe about patience, boundaries, or your own strength. And once you've learned that lesson, holding on only keeps you stuck in the same pain. Maturity is knowing when to let a chapter end, so a better one can begin. Letting go is an act of self, love disguised as heartbreak. It's the moment you take your power back from the story that kept you small. It's realizing you don't have to chase someone to prove your worth. You can release them with grace and still be whole. You can miss them and still move on. That's not weakness, that's strength in its most honest form. Because real strength isn't about holding everything together. It's about having the courage to let go of what's breaking you apart. We live in a world that often glorifies the idea of suffering for love, as if the more pain you endure, the more meaningful the relationship must be. You hear it in songs, see it in movies, and even feel it in your own story. The idea that heartbreak somehow proves the depth of your connection. But pain isn't proof of love. It's often proof that something is misaligned. When you find yourself constantly hurting, waiting, and hoping for someone to finally see your worth, that's not a testament to love's strength. It's a sign that you're trying to build something on uneven ground. Pain can trick you into believing you're invested in something special. It makes you feel alive, needed, purposeful. You start equating the chaos with passion, the uncertainty with intensity. But love that constantly hurts isn't passion. It's a cycle of highs and lows that keeps your heart addicted to the hope of things getting better. You find yourself chasing the version of him that shows up just enough to keep you from walking away. You cling to the memories of the good moments and ignore the fact that they've become rare. That's not love growing stronger, that's you holding on to the fragments while ignoring the pattern. The truth is, pain is not a badge of honor. It doesn't make the relationship deeper, it makes it heavier. You shouldn't have to prove your loyalty through suffering. You shouldn't have to earn someone's consistency by enduring their neglect. Real love doesn't require you to keep proving your worth. It reflects it back to you. It's steady. It's safe. It's mutual. The kind of love that brings peace doesn't leave you wondering where you stand or whether you're enough. When you start to see pain as a measure of love, you trap yourself in a never-ending loop. You wait for the next apology, the next small gesture, the next moment that reminds you why you fell in love in the first place. But every time you do, you teach your heart to settle for temporary relief instead of lasting peace. And the longer you stay, the harder it becomes to separate comfort from chaos. You begin to confuse familiarity with connection. But there's nothing loving about holding on to something that consistently breaks you. Sometimes the most painful realization is that the lesson wasn't about how much you could endure, but about how much you should never tolerate again. The pain was never there to prove how strong your love was. It was there to show you what happens when you abandon yourself for someone else. It was a signal, a message from your soul saying, "This isn't where you're meant to stay." Pain isn't proof of love. It's proof of misalignment between what you're giving and what you're receiving. When you choose peace over pain, you start redefining what love means to you. You stop associating heartbreak with depth and start valuing calm as a form of connection. You begin to see that the most powerful kind of love doesn't set your heart on fire. It keeps it warm. It doesn't make you anxious. It makes you safe. And that's the kind of love that lasts. Choosing peace doesn't mean you never cared. It means you finally understand what caring should feel like. It should feel like trust, like safety, like home, not like waiting for the storm to pass. Letting go of the idea that pain equals love doesn't make you cynical, it makes you wise. It allows you to open your heart again, not from a place of desperation, but from a place of peace. Because love isn't proven through suffering. It's proven through peace that stays even when the excitement fades. Pain may have been your teacher, but peace is what will set you free. When you've lived in emotional chaos for too long, peace feels uncomfortable. You've been conditioned to equate stillness with emptiness, quiet with loss, and stability with something dull. You start to crave the highs and lows because they've become familiar, even when they've left you exhausted. The adrenaline of unpredictability begins to feel like connection, and calm feels foreign. But the truth is, peace isn't the absence of love, it's the foundation of it. You've just been so used to mistaking anxiety for passion that when you finally find peace, you don't know how to trust it. After chaos, peace doesn't feel safe at first. It feels like waiting for something to go wrong. You're so accustomed to holding your breath, to anticipating the next disappointment, that calm feels suspicious. You think, why is it so quiet? Where's the spark? But what you're really feeling is withdrawal from the emotional roller coaster you've been living on. You've been addicted to inconsistency, to the intensity of feeling needed one moment and invisible the next. It kept you engaged, alert, and always reaching, but never resting. That wasn't love, that was emotional survival. Peace doesn't ask you to prove your worth. It doesn't leave you questioning where you stand. It doesn't make you chase. Peace feels like exhaling after holding your breath for too long. It's gentle, grounded, and steady. But when you've built your sense of love around chaos, that steadiness can feel like emptiness. You start thinking that peace is boring, when in reality, it's healing. You confuse the absence of pain with the absence of connection, because you've only ever known love that came with tension. But true love doesn't live in tension, it thrives in trust. The transition from chaos to calm is uncomfortable because it challenges everything you've believed about love. It forces you to confront how much of your self-worth was tied to fixing, pleasing, and holding on. It makes you realize how addicted you were to emotional noise, the constant need to decode mixed signals, to analyze every silence, to wait for reassurance that should have been there from start. Peace doesn't play that game. Peace doesn't need to be chased. It just is. And that simplicity can feel disorienting when you've lived in complexity for too long. But here's the truth. Peace is not the opposite of love. It's what allows love to breathe. Without peace, there's no safety. And without safety, love can't last. The kind of peace you've been resisting is the very thing your heart has been craving all along. It's not boring to have consistency. It's healing. It's not dull to be with someone who doesn't trigger your anxiety. It's safe. It's not lifeless to have love without drama. It's freedom. The quiet moments, the steady energy, the predictable kindness. Those are not signs that something is missing. Those are signs that you're finally in a place where your nervous system can rest. So if peace feels strange, lean into it anyway. If calm feels like emptiness, give it time. You're not missing out on intensity. You're detoxing from chaos. You're reprogramming yourself to recognize that love isn't supposed to hurt. The absence of pain doesn't mean the absence of emotion. It means the presence of safety. And peace, when you finally let yourself feel it, becomes the most powerful emotion of all. It's not the thrill of uncertainty, it's the relief of being understood. It's not the tension of waiting, it's the ease of being known. Peace won't beg for your attention like chaos does, but it will reward you with something chaos never could: clarity, balance, and genuine connection. You may not trust it right away, but over time, peace becomes the love story you never thought you'd get, one that doesn't take from you, one that lets you breathe, and one that finally lets you rest. When you hold on to someone who's already halfway out the door, your heart becomes a storage space for what's no longer alive. You keep their memory, their words, their energy, and you replay moments as if they can somehow bring them back. But here's the truth. You can't receive new love while your heart is still crowded with old pain. You can't open yourself to something real and healing when you're still gripping the ghost of what once was. The space where your peace should live is taken up by what you refuse to release, and every time you revisit what hurt you, you reopen a wound that was trying to heal. It's not that you don't deserve new love, it's that there's no room for it to land. You keep comparing, expecting, fearing, and protecting yourself from being hurt again, but in doing that, you keep yourself closed off. The old story still lives in your body, in your habits, in your choices. You find people who feel familiar not because they're good for you, but because they remind you of what you once called love. You end up repeating patterns, thinking it's fate, when really, it's unhealed pain guiding your decisions. Healing isn't about waiting for time to pass. It's about deciding to stop carrying what weighs you down. When you let someone go completely, you don't erase them. You release their emotional grip on your life. You stop giving them the power to dictate how you feel about love, trust, and your own worth. You stop checking their social media, replaying old conversations, and romanticizing what was never as perfect as your mind remembers it. You begin to see that letting go isn't rejection, it's preparation. It's you clearing the emotional clutter so that something better can take its place. Because love can't find you if you're still tangled in what broke you. Letting go isn't easy because the heart always wants closure, and closure rarely comes neatly packaged. You won't always get the apology, the explanation, or the ending that makes sense. Sometimes you just have to accept that the story didn't end the way you hoped, and that's okay. Not every love is meant to last forever. Some are meant to wake you up, teach you boundaries, or remind you what you deserve. The pain they caused doesn't mean it was all for nothing. It means it had a purpose. But once that purpose has been served, your job is to let it go, not keep reliving it. When you release what's gone, you start to feel lighter. You stop checking who they're with or what they're doing, not because you don't care, but because you've made peace with the truth. Their chapter in your story is over. And that's when healing begins. The kind of healing that opens your heart again, not out of desperation, but out of readiness. The kind that makes you see that love can be gentle and connection can be safe. You start to trust again, not because you forget the pain, but because you finally learn from it. You can't hold on to the old and expect the new to grow. You can't keep loving someone who isn't showing up and still expect to feel whole. Every moment you spend hoping for their return is a moment you could be using to rebuild yourself. Letting go is not about denying what you felt. It's about reclaiming the energy you've been giving away. It's about saying, "This no longer belongs to me," because the heart that clings to the past can't fully embrace the present. And once you choose to let go, you don't lose love. You make room for the kind that feels like peace instead of pain, connection instead of confusion, and presence instead of promises. At some point, you realize that letting him go was never really about him. It was always about you. It was about choosing your peace over the pain of trying to be enough for someone who didn't know how to meet you there. It's about remembering that love was never supposed to cost you your sense of self. Choosing peace doesn't mean you stopped caring. It means you stopped betraying yourself to keep someone else comfortable. It's the quiet decision to no longer participate in what keeps breaking you. It's no longer chasing closure or convincing someone to see your worth. It's choosing yourself, finally and completely. For so long, you probably thought love meant endurance, that if you could just hold on long enough, be patient enough, love deeply enough, things would change. But peace doesn't live in endurance. It lives in alignment. It lives in knowing that you can care for someone and still walk away when it hurts more than it heals. When you choose peace, you're not giving up on love, you're redefining it. You're saying that love without respect, love without stability, love without safety isn't enough anymore. You're saying, "I deserve a love that doesn't ask me to abandon myself." That's not bitterness, that's growth. The world often teaches you that love is selfless, that to love deeply means to give endlessly, but peace teaches you balance. It teaches you that giving too much of yourself to someone who doesn't value it is a quiet form of self-destruction. You start realizing that your energy, your heart, your peace, they are all sacred things. They aren't rewards for someone to earn through inconsistency. They are the foundation of who you are, and when you begin to protect them, your life starts to change. You stop running after what doesn't stay, and you start building what can. Choosing peace also means embracing the discomfort of loneliness without trying to fill it with the wrong company. It means sitting with the emptiness that comes after letting go and trusting that it's not permanent. It's healing space. It's where your clarity grows. It's where you rediscover your identity outside of who you were with him. That space, the one that used to feel unbearable, becomes the ground where you rebuild your confidence, your trust in yourself, your sense of worth. Because peace isn't found in another person. It's something you create when you finally stop negotiating your value. And the beautiful thing is, when you start choosing peace, everything else in your life begins to align with it. You stop chasing people who confuse you. You stop explaining yourself to those who don't listen. You stop trying to be understood by people who have no intention of seeing you clearly. You start moving differently, slower, calmer, more deliberate. You start protecting your energy like it's gold, because now you know it is. And what once felt like loss begins to feel like liberation. Letting him go doesn't mean you erase what you felt. It means you've learned from it, taken the lesson, and chosen to stop repeating the cycle. You've decided that peace, your peace, is worth more than the illusion of connection. It's the moment you stop saying, "Maybe he'll change," and start saying, "I've changed." Because when you finally choose peace, you begin to see that love isn't supposed to break you down. It's supposed to meet you where you are, not keep you waiting for what may never come. Choosing peace means choosing yourself again and again. It means no longer settling for love that feels like anxiety. It means no longer craving validation from someone who couldn't value you. It means no longer calling chaos chemistry. When you choose peace, you're not walking away from love, you're walking toward it. Because real love and peace are never in conflict, and once you experience that truth, you'll never again confuse the pain of holding on with the power of finally letting go. Letting him go isn't about forgetting him, it's about remembering you. It's about no longer calling pain love or chaos connection. When you finally choose peace, you stop chasing what drains you and start attracting what aligns with you. You realize that real love doesn't take your peace away, it deepens it. And the moment you decide that your peace matters more than your past, that's when you truly begin to feel free again.